Hi, this is Matt Shepard, and this is my fifth critique for research methods. Um, I wanted to find an article that talked a lot about body movements as a performer. Some of my earlier critiques talked about body movements in the classroom, the elementary classroom, and I wanted to kind of look at the other side of the spectrum and look at older musicians and see how body movements affected their playing. And so I could kind of go with the interrelationship of if we show elementary students that they can move their body during performances and during class, learning about the elements of music, and that will transfer later on into a more positive or a negative performance as a musician later on in life. So I decided to critique Thompson and Luck's article written in 2011, and it is entitled Exploring Relationships Between Pianists' Body Movements, Their Expressive Intentions, and Structural Elements of the Music. It was in Musicae Scientiae, and was, like I said earlier, in 2011. So in this article, Thompson and Luck's main purpose was to provide an analysis of the different body movements found in pianists when performing the same piece under the same conditions. As a result of their analysis, they were able to look closely at the body movements of pianists as they are expressing the music and using dynamics. The article began by including previous research that had been collected on music related to body movements. Their study showed that bodily movements found in music performers engages the audience physical and mental realm in ways that recorded performances cannot. Studies have also been conducted on similar research to theirs in which they intended to expand upon. The study conducted by Wanderley in 2002 aimed to interpret the body gestures of clarinetists performing on three conditions: a standard condition, playing condition, an expressive playing condition, and an immobile playing condition. Thompson and Luck also present research that shows the correlations of expressive gestures and language. Gestures have been known to have a major role in shaping human speech. The research study was to be conducted on 8 pianists due to their limits in their abilities to move expressively during a performance. They were observed through their performances of Chopin's Prelude in E minor, Opus 28, number 4. The pianists performed on a Roland electric piano with weighted keys and were asked to perform the prelude 12 times for accuracy purposes. The pianists were observed through their audio recording and an optical infrared motion capture system that would track their movements. The infrared tracking system watched the pianist's movements in 12 body parts. The body parts tracked included the hip, the mid-torso, the neck, the head center, the left and right shoulder, the left and right elbow, the left and right wrist, and then the left and right middle finger. The overall goal of the experiment was to compare for each musical condition and offer validity to the idea that expressive movements are created as a result of the physiological, structural, and interpretive factors of music. The procedures of the study were to be very minimal verbal direction when the pianist walked in to perform. So as a result, the pianist sat at the piano and a piece of paper with directions for the experiment laid in visual range for them to see. The directions were to play the piece 3 times each at normal, deadpan, exaggerated, and immobile performance conditions. So that's 12 total. The results of the study showed 4 different characteristics. The first characteristic showed that the duration of the exaggerated performance lasted the longest, while the deadpan performance lasted the shortest. The research showed that the pianist's exaggerated performance level allowed more time during those measures where the piece reached its climax. The second characteristic that resulted from the experiment was that the differences in the amount of movement occurred as a result of increased expression, and that these differences in movement were greater in parts of the body that were furthest away from the instrument that they were performing, the piano. The third characteristic that was found were the similarities and contrasts between performance conditions. The body movements were really similar between the deadpan performance and the immobile performance, and the highest contrast happened between the deadpan and immobile condition and the exaggerated condition. The final characteristic displayed from the data was dynamics. Exaggerated conditions yielded the most dynamic changes within the piece. Dynamics found within the other conditions were relatively the same. All performances showed an increase in the dynamics during the marking forte within the music. So every condition had loud dynamics at that point. The discussion of the article concluded that there was an increase in expression from deadpan to normal and then to exaggerated conditions. This was most evident in body parts that were further away from the musical instruments, such as the head, neck, and torso. Also, there seemed to be a similar amount of movement from all body parts during performances with immobile and deadpan conditions that were very short. Thompson and Luck state that this is a clear association between playing without expression and playing without extraneous movements. The study also showed evidence that playing with more expression led to larger body movements. The largest of the movements occurred in areas furthest away from the instrument, leading Thompson and Luck to believe that this was due to the extra space that was provided for that body movement while performing on a piano. Overall, I feel that Thompson and Luck presented their information very clearly and with high credibility. The study used the ANOVA and Pearson method to collect data. They also used modern technology that could track movements better than previous technology. This research helps to provide credibility to those musicians that feel strongly about movements while performing. During my performance career, I struggled with directors wanting me to limit body movements in order to not distract the audience from the music. This research actually shows that not only does the musician play more expressively during body movements, but also that audiences are enriched physically and mentally during a performance with high body movements. Further studies in this should allow for more experimental groups. This just included 8 pianists, and it may not conclude the results of all pianists. So more research into that. So that's my critique, the 5th critique. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you later. Have a good day.